Guess who? No, not Woody Woodpecker. Hello again, all you comic collectors and pop culture enthusiasts. Continuing with some miscellaneous stuff, because miscellaneous because I only have a few copies of each one of this, maybe 2 or 3 of that, something like that. And I'm going to start with Amazing Adult Fantasy. Now, many, many moons ago, and I remember exactly when it was. It was July 1974, because it was just before my daughter was born. I was at the Passaic bookstore. Excuse me. And just for the hell of it, I asked if they had Amazing Fantasy number 15. And they had one copy. And it was a VG. It was a couple of wrinkles on the cover. But outside of that, it was a good looking book. And it was $50. Now, 1974, $50 was a lot of money. But I bought it anyway. And over the next couple of months, I picked up the other 14 issues. I mean, they were only a couple of bucks, maybe $1.50, $2 a piece at the time, because they weren't Amazing Fantasy 15. And I had those for a number of years, up to around 82, 83, where things got a little tight, and I had to sell them all 15 issues, along with I don't know, 40, 50 other books, you know. Got some good money, but I've always regretted getting rid of those Amazing Fantasies. So a few years ago, actually before I moved out here, so maybe about 20 years ago, a friend of mine was getting rid of some comics that he had, and he had 3 issues of Amazing Adult Fantasy. They're worn and they're in tough shape, but they're complete, and I love them. Amazing Fantasy number 9, Timbooba. Timbooba. As you can see down along here, looks like it might have been it was stuck to another book or something, but it wasn't one of these books because none of the cover is not in any of the other books. But Timbooba. Amazing Fantasy, Amazing Adult Fantasy, number 9. Moving on to probably the worst one I got out of these 3, because there's a lot of writing on the cover, but and a little piece missing over here, but I don't care. It's Amazing Adult Fantasy. This is number 12. Now you can see all the writing on there. And one of the best covers outside of Amazing Fantasy 15, Steve Ditko, number 13, At the Stroke of Midnight. So that's my entire Amazing Fantasy. Now going through some miscellaneous stuff. Like I said, one issue here, a couple issues of this. This is 1966. The first man he was around before Superman was. And he was actually called Superman, referred to as being a Superman. He is the Man of Bronze. He is Doc Savage. And this is the Gold Key issue number 1. Doc Savage. And from early 50s, this is number 88 of Heroic Comics. Is a famous, funny publication. Herein are stories of truly heroic men and women chosen by this publication for their daring actions and hazardous tasks. Heroic Comics, number 88. And as a kid, I built the model of this guy, and I wish I still had it. I wish I still had all the models I had as a kid. Boy, I had dozens of them. Adele comic. This is number 16, but I forget the year. It's Steve Canyon. Number 16. It was actually a TV show, too, for a little while in the 50s. Steve Canyon. And something else that Johnny Weissmuller did in the 50s, he did a TV show. It's a Dell comic. This is number 1020, but I know it didn't run that long, so I think it was just their 4-color books or whatever, because there's no way Jungle Jim ran for over 1,000 issues. And Johnny Weissmuller played Jungle Jim on TV, which was another great show that I enjoyed as a kid. Jungle Jim. And as Dell and Goldkey ever always had, great, great painted covers. And in the early 70s, there was a company called, I'll remember who they are in a second, Dyna Publications. I forget how many books they actually reprinted, but they reprinted some of the early Golden Age books, the number ones. And before Daredevil, the Man of Fear, there was Daredevil. Daredevil Battles Hitler. It's a complete reprint of the book. It's black and white on the inside. And 1973 these came out. So here it is. Daredevil Battles Hitler. Daredevil number 1. Complete reprint. Still an awesome book. And another one, USA Comics. 1973, USA Comics number 1. And the other reprint that they did, great characters, Military Comics number 1 with Black Hawk. Military Comics number 1. I wish I had this original book. Always liked Black Hawk. And moving on to Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse Comics. Number 13. From 1949. Hurry up, tie your shoelace, Pearl. I can't hold this avalanche forever. Leave it to a woman. And Mighty Mouse, Paul Terry's Mighty Mouse Comics, 52 pages. Number 20, 1950. Cutting the cheese. Oops. Cool cover. And later on, 1952, number 35, Adventures with the Raiders from Saturn. And later on, in 1958, number 128, they started their reissuing of the originals. Art Bartson cover. Number 128 from 1958. And some miscellaneous Golden Age from 1947. Don Winslow of the Navy, number 50. Golden Age covers were so cool. It didn't matter how bad the story was or the end. It's like the covers were always excellent. It's very cool. That's a character called the Snake. And going back to Black Hawk from 1952, Terror in the Jungle, number 54, Black Hawk. I've had all of these a very, very long time. Comic from a comic strip, comic book. I don't think the comic book ran too long, but there's a couple of movies. I forget who started the movies and played them. It's Joe Palooka, number 11, from 1947. So don't be a Palooka. Going back to Dell, Daffy. Wow, that's a plain cover if I've ever saw a plain cover. Just says July, September, 10 cents, Dell. Daffy, nothing else on it. It's number 10 from 1957. Daffy and Elmer. Gee, I wish I had that hat. New Funnies, Henry Panda from 1951, another Dell comic, and Woody Woodpecker, number 70 from 1951. More Golden Age. Winged Comics always had cool covers. Just Google them or just go to eBay and type in Wings Comics and check out the covers. I mean, the covers are just spectacular. So this is Wings Comics number 110 from 1949. I can't, all the covers I've seen from Wings Comics, just so awesome, just spectacular. And this one will prove my point. Here's a B-17. Captain Wings and Leech Queen of Satan's Skyways. Also, Ghost Squadron, Jane Martin, and many others. Wings Comics number 78. And a Liv Gleason, who also did it's a Charles Bureau cover. And this shows a character named Ironjaw, and you'll see why he's called Ironjaw. So this is number 73 of Boy Illustories, and there's Ironjaw. And another one from Liv Gleason. This is the next to last appearance of Daredevil. And it's called Daredevil Comics. From Daredevil, the number one I showed you. Charles Bureau cover. And even without Daredevil in it, they still called it Daredevil Comics, instead of changing it to Wise Guys. So it's Daredevil Comics number 79. And the only issue I have with this character is a Golden Age character who came back in the Silver Age, and this is Showcase Presents the Spectra, number 64, The Ghost of Ace Chance. Spectra. And I loved it when Marvel started reprinting some of their older stories, because if they hadn't started doing stuff like this, I never would have known other titles that existed back then in the 50s, and the characters that they had and the other stories that they had. So when they started with fantasy masterpieces, this has a Jack Kirby story, a Steve Ditko story, a Joe Sinnott story, Dick Ayers, and Don Heck. Don Heck, another underrated artist, excellent artist. This is Fantasy Masterpieces number 1. See the old-time fantasy thrillers of your favorite Marvel artists dramatically recreated just for you. Number 1. And the last one to show. Yes, I like DC. I like DC Comics, but the DC Comics of the 60s. And I really liked Metal Men a lot. And I don't know what happened to the other issues I had, but this cover is by Ross Andrew and Don Esposito. This is Metal Men number 8. I have number 1, but that's slab. That's with my PGX and CGC comics that I had slab some years ago. So it's Metal Men number 8. And that's it. Another one down the tubes. So, until next time, as always, make mine Marvel. Enough said.